During the reign of King Jeroboam of Israel, God sent a prophet to Bethel to deliver a message of judgment against the king's idolatry. Jeroboam had established a false system of worship, setting up golden calves and appointing unauthorized priests, leading Israel away from the true worship of Yahweh. The prophet arrived in Bethel while Jeroboam was burning incense at an altar. He boldly proclaimed that a future king named Josiah would be born in Judah and would destroy the altar, burning the bones of false priests upon it. As a sign that this prophecy was true, the altar split apart and ashes spilled from it. King Jeroboam, angered by this, stretched out his hand and ordered his men to seize the prophet. But in that moment, his hand withered. Terrified, Jeroboam pleaded with the prophet for healing. The prophet interceded, and God mercifully restored the king's hand. Grateful yet still unrepentant, Jeroboam invited the prophet to his palace to eat and receive a reward. However, the prophet refused, explaining that God had given him strict instructions not to eat nor return the way he came, remaining faithful to God's command. The prophet left Bethel by a different route. Meanwhile, an old prophet who lived in Bethel heard about the miraculous events from his sons. Wanting to meet him, he quickly saddled his donkey and pursued him. Finding him resting under an oak tree, the old prophet invited him to his home for a meal. The prophet from Judah again refused, repeating God's command not to eat or drink in Bethel. However, the old prophet lied to him, saying he was also a prophet that was sent by the angel of the Lord. Deceived by this false claim, the prophet from Judah disobeyed God and returned to eat with the old prophet. During the meal, the true word of the Lord came upon the prophet. He pronounced God's judgment, declaring that because the man of God disobeyed the direct command of the Lord, he would die and his body would not be buried in his ancestral tomb. After finishing his meal, the prophet from Judah left on his donkey, but on his way home, a lion attacked and killed him. However, something unusual happened. The lion did not eat his body or attack his donkey. Instead, both the lion and the donkey stood beside the corpse, an eerie and unmistakable sign of divine judgment. When people passed by and saw the strange sight, word reached the old prophet in Bethel. He immediately recognized that God's judgment had come upon the man of God. Saddened, he retrieved the body, placed it on his donkey, and brought it back to Bethel. There, he mourned and buried him in his own tomb, instructing his sons to bury him in the same tomb as the prophet when he dies. The old prophet acknowledged that the prophecy spoken against Jeroboam's altar would surely come to pass. Lessons from this story: 1. Obedience to God's word is essential. 2. Even prophets can be deceived. And 3. God's judgment is always certain.